I was Miss Song's personal maid, the one who even washed her feet. She liked me, so Master and Madam Song took me in as their younger daughter. The day our enemies came after us, Miss told me to split up with her. She took the south road and I took the north, but in the end our enemies chose the south road. Miss died. I survived, and by chance I even saved the prince of the northern frontier. When my parents heard, they simply pulled me into their arms. At least one of you came back, that's enough. I was heartbroken. After becoming the prince's wife, I spent every day seeking honor and favor from Mrs. Family. But on the day I gave birth, Mother delivered my baby herself, then drove scissors into my abdomen, and a candle set the manor ablaze. She smiled through the flames. If she were still alive, all this wealth and status would be hers, wouldn't it? You're just a former maid, yet you lived while my Yenair died. Why should you get any of this? You're not even my real daughter. Why would you repay all my kindness like this? I miss her. Little one, it's time you went down there and apologized to her. Only then did I understand. Mother had always wished Miss had been the one to come home. Blood soaked the bedding beneath me, and I felt something inside me slipping away. It was my unborn child, the person I cared about most in this world. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Through the fire, I vaguely saw Zimingzhou rush in, lift me into his arms, and sob. In the end, he held me as the collapsing roof buried us both. When I opened my eyes again, I saw the familiar carved canopy above my bed and smelled sandalwood mixed with powder and perfume. This was the Song estate, my room. I shot upright, heart pounding. My index finger was intact. My stomach was flat. No wound, no blood. The door opened, and Miss Song Suyan walked in carrying 2 bowls of tea. Lianyi, get up. We're going to the country estate with father and mother today. The roads aren't safe, so stay with me and don't wander off. Her voice, her expression, everything was exactly as I remembered. That's when I realized I'd gone back in time, to the very day our enemies hunted us down. Fate had given me one more chance. I took a deep breath, forced down the storm inside me, and held on to one thought. If Mother wanted her daughter alive, I'd give her exactly that. Miss was just telling us to split up when I shoved my bundle into her arms. My voice was so calm it sounded strange even to me. Go north, don't look back. She froze, clearly not expecting that. But before she could react, I turned and headed south. If Mother wanted her daughter alive, I'd make sure she was. I had barely started toward the south road when a hand shoved me to the ground. I looked up in disbelief. Song Suyan stood over me wearing an expression I'd never seen before, pure greed and calculation, cold as a snake watching its prey. You think I don't know? The prince of the northern frontier is being hunted too, and he's supposed to be wounded on the south road. If I go there, not only will I survive, I'll save him and become the woman who saved his life. That's what you were planning too, wasn't it? I stared at her, stunned. So that had been her plan in my last life. Before I could explain, Song Suyan took off down the south road without looking back. She ran fast, even pulling out several medicinal herbs she'd prepared ahead of time for treating the wounded. So everything in my last life had been carefully planned by her. She thought the prince was on the south road and chose it hoping to rise overnight. What she didn't know was that the south road rumor was bait. The real prince was on the north road. The pounding of enemy horses was already getting closer, the vibration rolling through the ground like a countdown. I gritted my teeth and ran after her. Miss knew this road well, slipping through every patch of shadow. By the time I caught up, she'd put plenty of distance between herself and the pursuers. You lowly servant! Didn't I tell you to split up? What, you think someone like you can become the prince's wife? I was still gasping for breath when I swung a wooden stick into the back of her head. She stared at me in disbelief. Her expression shifted from anger to fear, then confusion, before she crumpled to the ground. My hands trembled around the stick. I dragged her into the bushes. When I came back out, I was wearing her clothes and a veil. We were already similar in build. In my last life, she'd planned to use me as a decoy for the pursuers. A pained groan came from the bushes. Song Suyan was awake. She tried to speak, but the blow to her head left her words slurred and broken. I crouched beside the bushes and looked at her through the branches. The Song family raised me. As of today, that debt is paid. Song Shuyan couldn't speak. She could only glare at me with bloodshot eyes. I mounted the horse and rode north without looking back. The pursuers spotted me quickly. Someone shouted behind me, "The Song maid is over there! Full speed!" Dozens of riders turned and charged after me. Wind screamed past my ears as I flattened myself against the horse, my heart pounding like it wanted out of my chest. I drew the pursuers onto the north road, but that also put one person in danger, the prince. He'd planned to make them think he was on the south road. By leading them north, I'd accidentally ruined his diversion. So when I found him barely alive by the roadside, I didn't hesitate. He was slumped against a dead tree, his white robe soaked dark at the chest, his face pale as paper. Enemies and guards lay scattered around him. I rushed over and hauled him onto my horse. "They're coming, we have to go." He was heavy and it took everything I had to steady him in front of me. Instinctively, he wrapped an arm around my waist and clenched my clothes in his fist like he was holding on to his last chance to survive. All I heard was the wind and wave after wave of hoofbeats behind us. The arms around my waist were ice cold, but they held tight. I knew he was using the last of his strength to keep himself from falling off the horse. Only when the road narrowed did the pursuit finally fade. The prince still forced himself to stay calm, but I could see the cold sweat on his forehead and the color draining from his face. The rough ride had to be agony, yet he never made a sound. I found a small clinic and got him settled there. Once his men arrived, I stood to leave. "May I ask your name?" He grabbed my hand so tightly it hurt. His knuckles went white, like he refused to let go of something precious he'd nearly lost. It was the exact same question from my last life. Behind my veil, I stayed silent for a moment. Song Shuyan. I lied, not because I wanted anything from him, but because I wanted nothing more to do with the Song family. Let Song Shuyan become his wife. Let Mother get what she'd always wanted. As I returned to the Song estate, I heard Mother's heartbroken sobs from far away. I'd never heard her cry like that, not even in my last life when she thought I was dead. When I got closer, I saw her clutching Song Shuyan tightly in her arms. "You're back, thank goodness, you're the one who came back." I went rigid, almost thinking Mother had gone back in time too. But her face showed pure joy at getting someone precious back, not the certainty of someone who knew the future. Maybe she'd simply found Song Shuyan sooner this time. Or maybe she'd only ever cared whether the right person came home. In my last life, they only cried quietly when they hugged me and said, "At least one came back." I truly believed that meant I was family. But when Mother saw me now, her body stiffened and her crying stopped cold. "Why did you come back?" I lowered my eyes to hide a bitter smile, bowed, and excused myself. I wasn't going to stay where I wasn't wanted. Back in my room, my maid Xiaohi handed me a letter.
"Second Miss, I found everything you asked me to investigate. You really are Madam's biological daughter. Madam Shu, who once worked here as a wet nurse, is actually the birth mother of the current eldest miss."
Just as I thought. In my last life, after I became the prince's wife, I'd started suspecting the truth about my birth. But right before I could prove it, Mother drove scissors into my abdomen. Now the truth was exactly what I'd expected, yet I felt strangely calm. Maybe that wound had simply hurt too much. It buried both me and my child. The door suddenly flew open. Before I could finish speaking, a slap landed across my face, sharp and burning. The corner of my mouth split and I tasted blood. "Neil!" Her voice was colder than a winter wind. "Mother, don't call me that." "Madam, second miss is your real daughter. The eldest miss is the one who isn't." Another slap struck Xiaohi. The crack made my heart jump. Her cheek swelled at once and blood appeared at the corner of her mouth. She tried to keep talking, but I stopped her. "Drag this wretch out, 40 strokes! Mother, it's my fault. If you want to punish someone, punish me." Mother looked down at me for a long time, her eyes scraping across my face like blades. Finally, she waved everyone out. Soon, only the two of us remained. "Why did you come back?" There was a strange exhaustion in her voice. "Since you came back too, why did you return just to keep tormenting our family?" She had gone back in time too. Mother stared at me. "Song Lianyi, we took you in when you were 5. All these years, we've never treated you badly, have we?" Her tone was flat, like she was talking about someone else's life. "No. Then why come back? Why didn't you just disappear for good and repay what you owed from your last life?" I looked up at her. Those eyes used to gaze at me so gently, calling me Little Lianyi and my little girl. That warmth made me believe something I never should have, that she truly saw me as her own daughter. But to her, I had only ever been a replacement she could throw away. I said nothing. I simply took out a formal severance letter and held it above my head with both hands. "Madam, don't worry. I'll be leaving the Song estate very soon." Mother froze, her eyes falling on the document. She clearly hadn't expected me to be the one asking to cut ties. Then she frowned at me. "You really want this?" I knelt with my back perfectly straight. The authorities already had the paperwork prepared. In a few days, the Song family could remove me from the family register. As I spoke, I looked her straight in the eyes. "For 10 years of raising me, consider the debt repaid. I wish Master and Madam Song a long life together, and Miss Song Shuyan a bright future." Then I bowed to the floor once, twice, 3 times. My forehead touched the cold ground, and the chill seemed to sink into my bones. Mother stood frozen, but I got to my feet and picked up the bundle Xiaohi had already packed. "I'll move into the servants' quarters tonight and leave within 2 days. You don't need to worry, madam." "Stop!" I stopped, but didn't turn around. Mother's breathing had gone uneven. "You're acting like the Song family mistreated you. There's no room for you in the servants' quarters. Who exactly are you putting on this show for?" With that, she swept past me and left in a hurry, her hair ornaments shaking with every step. For a second, she almost looked rattled. I must have imagined it. That night, I barely slept. I sat on the bed, hugging my knees, feeling hollow inside, like an empty room after everything had been moved out. Early the next morning, the estate suddenly grew lively. Xiaohi ran in, yesterday's injury still visible on her face, but she was smiling from ear to ear. "Second Miss, the Prince of the Northern Frontier is here. He says he wants to marry the eldest Miss." Already? That was a whole month earlier than in my last life. I went to the window. Everyone in the Song estate had gone out to welcome him. I stayed at the very back with my head lowered, hoping no one would notice me. Thanks to Miss Song's help, I was able to make it out safely. Song Shuyan stiffened. She hadn't even told him about saving him yet. Her eyes darted around as she quickly calculated what to do. In the end, she didn't deny it. She simply gave him a delicate little bow. "It was nothing, General. There's no need to dwell on it." When Ziemingzhou reached out to steady her, a smug smile flashed across her face. I quietly exhaled in relief, then suddenly felt someone staring at me. I looked up and met Zi Mingzhou's eyes. For a moment, I saw him again in my last life, charging into the fire and holding me while he cried. The Song family has another daughter? Our adopted younger daughter. She used to be Yanner's foot-washing maid. Zi Mingzhou ignored Mother's confusion and kept staring straight at me. What's her name? Song Lianyi. Zi Mingzhou smiled, and there was a warmth in it I knew all too well. Why did you give me a false name? My breath caught. That day I'd worn a veil in Song Zhuyan's clothes, and now she was even wearing the same style again. How could he possibly know it had been me? If you'll have me, I'd make you the princess of the northern frontier. Before I could finish, Song Shuyan's eyes turned red. She stomped away, rushed inside, and slammed the door. Master Song kept bowing and apologizing, but Zi Mingzhou never even glanced her way. His eyes stayed on me. General, you really have the wrong person. A jade pendant dropped into my hand. Its smooth warmth made my heart tremble. I knew it. In my last life, he'd placed it in my palm countless times, telling me it was the Zi family's token passed down to each son's wife. If you ever change your mind, bring this pendant and come to my estate anytime. Did you really think I wouldn't recognize my own wife from our last life? I froze. Zi Mingzhou gave me a knowing smile. As long as Second Miss stays away, the place beside me stays empty. I'll be waiting. Zi Mingzhou had gone back in time too. Watching him walk away, my eyes suddenly burned. Before I died in my last life, I hadn't only seen Mother's twisted face. I'd also seen the man who ran into the flames for me. He held me and sobbed as I died from blood loss, and then he died in that fire with me. Something's wrong, eldest miss drank poison. When I reached the doorway, Song Shuyan was lying on the bed, coughing up blood, her face pale as paper. An empty bowl sat on the table with dark medicine residue at the bottom. Mother threw herself beside the bed, trembling as she wiped the blood from Suyan's mouth and cursed whoever she blamed for this. I stood in the doorway, not knowing what to feel. That night, Song Shuyan was saved, and I was relieved. If she'd actually died, Mother would probably hate me all over again. Tomorrow, I was leaving. I rubbed the jade pendant Zi Mingzhou had given me, and finally decided that in this life I'd choose him again. The door suddenly opened. Before Jiahe could speak, men forced her to the floor. Mother looked at me coldly, as if I were already dead. Take her to the woodshed. Madame. I stared at her in disbelief, but two servants seized my arms and dragged me straight to the woodshed. Dust covered my dress and cobwebs tangled in my hair. Mother gripped my chin, her nails digging into my skin. So that's why you came back. You wanted to push my daughter over the edge. If you hadn't returned, she'd be the general's wife right now. You stole everything from her once, and even with a second chance, you still won't leave her alone. Leave me alone? Her grip hurt so badly that tears sprang to my eyes. Then she threw me to the floor. My knees slammed into the stone, and the pain nearly kept me from standing. I won't stand by and watch my daughter suffer the same fate again. Servants! More than a dozen household guards stood respectfully behind her, every face blank. Mother looked down at me, speaking as casually as if she were deciding what to eat for dinner. Ruin her eyes, scar her face. Mother! I struggled desperately, but both arms were pinned down. I could only kneel there helplessly. Wait, Mother held out her hand. A servant respectfully placed a short blade in it. The edge gleamed coldly in the candlelight. She lifted my chin herself and the tip touched my cheek, so cold that my whole body went rigid. Yanner has dreamed of becoming the general's wife since she was little. Once this face is ruined, she can finally have what she wants. Your favor, your wealth, everything you owe her. I'll take it all back for her myself. The blade cut across my cheek and pain exploded through my face. Warm blood ran down my neck and stained my collar. I covered the wound, but it kept seeping through my fingers. Cut off her index finger. Yes, madam. I stared at her in terror. My hand was pressed flat against a wooden board, all 10 fingers stretched out. These hands had served her tea, massaged her back, combed her hair, brewed medicine when she was sick, and rubbed her shoulders when she was tired. Mother, don't! I'm your daughter! I'm your real daughter! Tears and blood fell into the dust together. Mother froze for a moment and something seemed to flicker in her eyes. I shook my head desperately, my voice already hoarse. Please, Mother, it hurts. It hurts so much. When I was little, whenever I fell or got sick, I'd cry to her just like this. Every time she'd pick me up, gently blow on the sore spot and say, "Don't be scared, Lianyi. I'll blow on it, and it won't hurt anymore." But this time, she didn't stop them. Pain tore through me and I collapsed into the dust. Blood, tears, and dirt smeared across my face. I wanted to call for Mother, but my throat felt blocked. All that came out was a broken whisper. "Mother, I hate you." Her footsteps paused for only a second, then continued. The ornaments in her hair jingled softly behind her, almost like a sigh, or a final goodbye. At the dressing table, Mother placed a red gold hairpin with a pearl on Song Suyan. A thumb-sized pearl hung from the phoenix-shaped pin, gleaming beautifully. Looking at the radiant girl in the mirror, Mother's eyes turned red with joy. Aryan Air is the most beautiful girl in the world. She rested both hands on Song Shuyan's shoulders, as if holding on to a treasure she'd finally gotten back. "Yanner, no one will ever take what's yours again. I'll clear every obstacle for you. This life you're going to be very, very happy. As long as I have you, Mother, I'm not afraid of anything." Mother pulled her into a hug, but her eyes drifted into the distance. I'd once said those exact words to her. She glanced toward the woodshed and frowned without realizing it, then quickly pushed the thought away. The next day, Zimingzhou's jade pendant hung from Song Shuyan's waist. She assumed she'd soon become his princess. Then a commotion broke out outside, and Mother frowned. Who's disturbing Yanner's peace? Madame Shu, who used to work here, has come back. She's sneaking around and no one knows what she's doing. Madame Shu had left the Song estate 8 years ago. She disappeared suddenly, leaving only a letter saying something had happened back home. No one had heard from her since. Now her eyes flicked over Song Suyan for a moment, then quickly moved away. I just took a wrong turn. She's lying. Madam, she came to see her biological daughter. Her daughter is right there. Mother stiffened. Xiaohi raised a letter above her head with both hands. It was wrinkled from sweat and blood, but the wax seal was still intact. This is intelligence from the Chanji agency. 15 years ago, Madame Shu gave birth at the same time as you. She switched her baby with yours. The witness statements are all in here. For days, Xiaohi had searched every intelligence network she could find. The letter contained signed statements from witnesses, every name and fingerprint clearly recorded. Madame Shu's face turned white. She couldn't say a word. Madam, you mustn't believe this vile servant! Mother, how could I possibly not be your real daughter? Mother stood perfectly still. Suddenly, she remembered me lying in the dust the night before, red-eyed, saying, Mother, I hate you. For some reason, her chest ached. She took the envelope. It really did bear the Chanji agency's seal, and every detail from 15 years ago matched. What exactly happened? The moment Madame Shu saw the Chanji seal, all the color drained from her face. The agency's intelligence was known for being accurate. Sweat poured down her face, and her lips trembled uncontrollably. Madam, why would you believe this servant's one-sided story? Master Song walked out holding an identical envelope. A single report from the Tianji agency cost at least 100 taels of silver. Xiaohi is only a maid. Where would she get that kind of money? If you're still unsure, I have a genuine Tianji report right here. It says nothing about any babies being switched. The agency never found such a thing. Madam, the report really came from the Tianji agency. I pawned the dowry second miss left behind when she planned to leave, then borrowed the rest from a money house. Then you were probably scammed. Plenty of people pretend to represent the Tianji agency. Enough. Even now you're still making excuses? Madam, how can you believe these lies? You're saying an adopted daughter's word is more trustworthy than my husband's? I'm supposed to believe a maid over the man I married? Father calmly glanced at Madame Shu. She immediately exchanged a look with him, then lowered her eyes as if nothing had happened. Tell me the truth. Did Song Lianyi give you the money? Madam, second miss didn't. Someone bring Song Lianyi here. A servant soon returned to report that second miss was gone, and only a pool of blood remained. Mother shoved open the woodshed door. It was empty. All that remained was a large, half-dried, dark red stain on the floor, and the sharp smell of blood in the air. Pathetic. You're still protecting your mistress, but the moment things fell apart, she ran off and left you behind. Xiaohi clenched her jaw, eyes red, refusing to say another word. Mother stared her down. Will you tell me the truth yourself, or do I have to make you? Everything Xiaohi said is true. What a loyal little dog. We made one mistake and raised an ungrateful snake in our own home. Not long after, Mother went to the authorities. When she came out, my name was gone from the family register, and she'd obtained proof that I was removed from the household. From that day on, Song Lianyi, second miss of the Song family, was officially dead. My life had nothing to do with the Songs anymore. News of it quickly reached the prince's estate. I was lying in bed with thick bandages wrapped around my hand and face. Jimingzhou sat beside me, his long fingers brushing lightly over the gauze, his eyes filled with the same tenderness I remembered. You heard what they said? I nodded. He gently rested a hand on my arm, and the warmth of his palm reached me through the fabric. They still don't know I secretly brought you here. They tried to push Song Juyan on me, but I already refused. No. Mingzhou, Xiaohi is still at the estate. My hand trembled as I reached for him, pain pulsing through my injuries. Please help me get her out, okay? His eyes reddened as he carefully took my hand, holding it as gently as fragile porcelain. Of course. The wedding day arrived as planned. When Mother heard Zimingzhou also wanted to take Xiaohi away, she found it odd, but agreed. If her daughter could become his wife, one maid didn't matter. But after Xiaohi left with his people, Zimingzhou still didn't marry Song Suyan. Our agreement was that I would marry the Song family's eldest daughter, correct? Yes, Your Highness, Yanner is ready. But she isn't the Song family's eldest daughter, so why would I marry her? Song Shuyan, already dressed in bridal red, froze. The smile on her face vanished. Your Highness, have those rumors confused you too? Yanner is our daughter. Xiaohi's report was fake. My husband already produced the real Qianji proof. Of course he'd need to prove it. After all, Song Shuyan is his daughter with the woman he loves. Isn't that right, Master Song? Father's face went white. I don't put much faith in paperwork. I prefer witnesses, and having everyone confront each other in person. Ximingzhou clapped his hands, and several people were brought in. They were the midwife who delivered Mother's baby, the maids who'd attended her, and several older servants who had been dismissed years ago. Madame Shu stepped out from the inner room. The second she saw them, her face turned deathly pale. These are the people who attended Madame Song during the birth, aren't they? Why don't you ask them yourself? Song Yaobang, what is going on? Mother's eyes were already red. Father frowned, but his tone stayed hard. Don't listen to them. Who knows whether someone paid them to lie? And you named your daughter Song Shuyan because Madame Shu's name also contains the character Shu, didn't you? Father grew even paler, beads of sweat gathering on his forehead. Then Ziming produced deeds for land and property father had secretly bought for Madame Shu, complete with official records. Mother's hands shook as she flipped through the deeds from 8 years ago. Everyone was clear and undeniable. She looked at father with red eyes, her anger barely contained. Who is our real daughter? Father lowered his head and said nothing. Tears filled mother's eyes. Liani, is it really her? Father sighed. My wife, I did what I could. We adopted Liani when she was 5. All these years, how was she treated any differently from a true eldest daughter? You monster! Mother slapped father across the face. She was crying so hard she could barely speak. It was different. How could it not be? I thought an adopted girl had stolen everything from my daughter. Song Yaobang, what did you make my Liani go through? Song Shuyan's legs gave out, and she collapsed to the floor. Her bridal skirt spread around her like a wilted flower. How can this be? Am I the fake one? Mother ignored her completely and grabbed Ziming's sleeve. Where is my Liani? You know where she is, don't you? She stormed off a few days ago. Is she okay now? Ziming looked into her hopeful eyes and swallowed hard. She's dead. Mother stared at him blankly as if she hadn't heard. What did you say? Her index finger was severed, and she lost too much blood. By the time my men found her at the pauper's burial ground, she was already gone. Mother's hand slowly dropped like a dead leaf falling from a branch. She stumbled back, swayed once, then collapsed unconscious. After Mother woke up, she seemed half mad. Before anyone could stop her, she took a knife and attacked father. After that, he never walked again. From then on, Mother asked everyone she saw the same question. Have you seen my daughter? Her name is Song Lianyi. As her condition worsened, she'd go to the woodshed in the middle of the night, the same place where she'd locked me up, and kneel there, trying to punish herself again and again. Her face was covered in wounds she'd caused herself, and tears mixed with blood as they fell. I did this to her. My child hates me. I have to live with the same pain I gave her. Maybe then her heart will hurt a little less. She refused to let anyone bandage her. She would only stare at her injured hand and cry. She escaped like this back then too. It hurts so much. Was my Lianyi hurting even worse? She spent whole days sitting alone, barely eating or drinking, silently crying. Then one day the door opened. I stood there and said, Mother. Mother turned stiffly, like a rusted mechanical doll. She squinted at me for a long time. Then recognition hit. Her eyes lit up and she stumbled toward me. She reached for my face, but at the last second she pulled her hand back. Is it Lianyi? But Lianyi died. Mother, I faked my death. Xiaohi told me what's been happening to you. Did you come back to see me? I sighed. Mother, I faked my death because I wanted nothing more to do with the Song family. But after hearing what happened to you, I felt I should come once. I'm alive. Mingzhou found people to treat my injuries. You don't need to worry about what happens to me anymore. What do you mean by anymore? Aren't you home now? Mother, I can't come back, don't you remember? You cut ties with me and removed my name, my marriage, my funeral, my whole future. None of it has anything to do with the Song family now. No, I only said that because I was furious. I never truly meant to abandon you. I was deceived too. I gently peeled her hands away from me, finger by finger. Her hands were ice cold, and the wounds on her fingertips still hadn't healed. Mother, this is the last time we'll see each other. Stop hurting yourself. I don't need you to do any of this for me. With that, I turned and walked away without looking back. Mother's anguished sobs rose behind me. She chased me to the doorway, but I'd already climbed into the carriage. My little girl, my little girl. Mother fell apart again for a while, but after learning I was alive, she seemed to calm down. Eventually, she became the old Madame Song again, even repairing her relationship with father. Song Shuyan remained the eldest miss, and Madame Shu wasn't driven out. Everyone thought Mother had accepted it. I thought the grudges of this life were finally over too, and I prepared to move on with Jimingzhou. But during the Mid-Autumn Festival, disaster suddenly struck the Song estate. When we arrived, Mother stood inside a wall of flames, holding a torch. Her smile was exactly the same as the one she'd worn while watching me die in my last life. Mother! My little girl, I avenged you. I took revenge on the people who kept us apart for all these years. Do you see? Father struggled in the flames. Knowing he couldn't escape, he glared at Mother and used the last of his strength to shout. You vicious woman. If I'd known it would end like this, I would have gotten rid of that girl the day you gave birth. Mother walked up to him and stared down coldly. You don't get to talk about my daughter. The flames grew stronger until Father finally stopped moving. Madame Shu was hiding in a corner, already too terrified to move. As Mother walked toward her step by step, she didn't even have the strength to run. And you? Was my daughter born just so you could mistreat her? Back when Lianyi washed your daughter's feet, if the water was a little too hot or too cold, you'd punish her on broken porcelain. How did it feel bullying my daughter? Madam, I was wrong. It was all Master's idea. Please, Madam, don't. I'm begging you. The fire swallowed everything around them, and Madame Shu's screams faded beneath the roar of the flames. Mother looked up at the sky. The moon was full and bright, like a cold eye watching the world. Across the fire, I finally understood. She had never let go. She had only been quietly planning one final revenge. I was wrong. Mother looked at me one last time, smiling through tears. I'm sorry, my girl. Please forgive me. She reached out stubbornly, as if waiting for a hug that would never come. Then the flames swallowed her completely. Xiaming pulled me into his arms and covered my eyes. That day, the Song estate was gone. I'd sworn to cut ties with them, but seeing Mother's final tears still hurt. Still, it was over. In this life, I could finally live for myself. But later, I realized I'd missed one thing. Song Zuyun's body was never found in the estate.